Ah, I'm gonna do defense. I'm gonna freaking wash the dishes and take a bath. And then maybe I'll sleep. And then it's writing time. Oh, perhaps I can continue the main story as well, I don't know. The heck is this? Are people still actually hosting squad strike tournaments?
First time. Wow. That's where I got my car. I think they got my, I had to get some.
Alright, let me do my artifact runs first.
You know, the check engine light comes on and then you go over there and it's just a gas cap. That's the scariest situation ever. Alright, we're getting right into it, okay. Right into it.
In spite of things.
So, man, J Mafia definitely coming out here with the hotness, but might just be getting cool.
Good eye.
No, this currently does. That was, yeah, I mean, he literally walked in and took 92. Spawned on 92. Yeah, essentially. Fell off the, or came off the platform.
I've been waiting for you for ages.
This is still my strongest team.
Who's our target this time?
Yep, just run up smash. It will autocorrect regardless of which way you're going. So easy finisher there for Riddles. That's the terrifying thing about having a Kazuya in your lineup.
Yeah,
I'll
Barbara
take
can
care of
actually
it.
be good.
Just get you 3 stars. Yeah. You know what I
In
mean?
spite of being a healer.
Oh. There we
On
go.
account of the fact that her
Oh, and
moves
she
are
hit the
good now.
platform though. Still scoop. Yep.
For this
Gonna figure out
team.
another option there. Platform is gonna save J Mafia. I guess the little bit of bounce popped him up.
I could go for Cryo instead and focus on
that up smash.
Melt and Vaporize
Gone?
and
Yep.
Freeze.
Good stuff. Okay. Crowd coming to
Yeah,
life
that's
a
the
little
other
bit.
thing. Freeze is actually still good for melting.
I was wondering if we would actually see not just to show
Pyro's a dead
he
simple
had a good Roy for quite a while.
big damage element. True and true.
Let's just put it that way. Okay, I watched him stream. He was winning some matches, bro. Like,
Yeah, I don't need
sub battles,
freezing. This will be way more efficient.
Alright, bro. He was looking different.
Wanna come over for
I
tea?
mean, I thought the third character would be the Richter, but doesn't matter. We got the reads like that. I like that when he wins, he's like, would you like to run it back? Yeah. It's like option to you, sir. Shoot at. So we're going back? Dang, can I see the stages? Some time, baby. Alright.
Oh, Terry, Kazuya.
Get a chance to see Terry on that one. Yeah, I mean, that Kazuya came through again, you know, absolutely slapped up Yoshi right at the beginning. There was no waste of time, and then here we are. Kirby! Alright. It looks like Jake. Come on now, brother. You gonna do the same thing. Ain't that stretchy?
All I know is I will be spending most of my time farming for Golden Dreams. And then probably Emblem next. And then depending on how things turn out, I might farm here.
Is this like it's a matchup check? What the? I'm not sure.
And I want some Wanderers as
I
well.
don't know if this is the one
For
right
their
here.
Elemental
So.
Mastery 2 set.
Wait! Oh, hold on! Wait, did it work?
The Gladiators
Oh,
are still good
alright,
too.
alright. Oh my god! I wanted it for him. I wanted it for him.
I'll watch this later. I'll get those just from doing my weekly bosses and stuff. On account of me not being able to farm for boss materials for a while, if my schedule's to be correct. Oh wow, a Yoimiya guide.
The Temple of Wisdom! I see everything!
Welcome here.
Busted!
Let's end this now.
Oh no! Let's dance! Everyone hold hands! I'm getting sick of No! Take it easy.
Again.
Life Universe can be played in full 3D on any browser on any platform. You don't need to purchase a game or even download an app to start enjoying the world of Madrigal. Life has lots of graphics options so that it can be as compatible as possible with the device you're playing on. Switch it up from full 3D renders to a fun cel-shaded style. And
They
don't
got
forget to check out the
sponsors.
different costumes and character features to make your character look completely unique. There's also no autoplay or auto combat function on either mobile or computer, so you can get completely immersed into your own journey or even start a journey with your friends. Flife has a unique party system that lets you team up with friends or strangers to gain more experience. You can also go PvP through duels, the arena, the guild siege, and more. So start your Flife adventure today by visiting their website linked in the description and pinned comment. Thank you GalaLab for sponsoring. Now back to the video.
Oh god, it's an animal.
My name's Yoimiya. Just let me know if you need anything.
Let's start by going through how Yoimiya's talents work and tips on how to maximize her kit and gameplay. Activating Yoimiya's skill infuses her normal attacks with pyro damage for 10 seconds to turn her into a Pew Pew Pyro DPS. The talent scaling is a separate multiplier on her normal attack damage. However, the scaling increase per talent level is quite small, so to maximize damage, it's much more worth leveling up her normal attack.
Welcome here.
Then for Yoimiya's normal attacks. Her normal attacks consist
Here comes the
of a
catch.
damage sequence, but
I'll
the third
protect
and
us.
fourth hits actually fire twice, making her
God's
entire
over.
an actual total of 7
I'm
hits.
getting
The first and fifth hit are her highest multiplier attacks, which make them also the target for taking vaporize and melt reactions within such teams. Thankfully, her standard normal attack ICD makes it so that her first, third, and fifth multipliers will be the ones dealing reaction damage. That assumes that you're focused on one target and that you don't get interrupted, which a shielder will help a lot with. It helps to cancel Yoimiya's final animation to quickly restart the combo, which you can do with either an aimed shot cancel or, more easily, a dash, which will help you relocate if needed. Relocating might be necessary since Yoimiya steps backwards as you execute her combo. If you move too far, it might affect some buffs like moving out of Bennett or Diona's circle. If you have concerns about how accurate her arrows are, then worry not. There are various
Gotcha.
where her arrows could miss.
A minute to
such as
memory.
against
Go,
starting
Barbara,
season
go.
players, like but for the most part, Yoimiya's attacks are on point. It's also great that she can kill the targets of specialized archers such as the DNA. Related to her
I see
normal
everything.
attacks, Yoimiya gave her passive ability to gain approximately 50% power while respecting opponents with her pyro.
Come on, we can do it.
Next is Yoimiya's wisdom. When activated, she'll jump into the
Win
air
it!
and target an
Win
enemy
it!
with
Whoa!
her Horus release. The mark explodes with attacks from any character other than Yoimiya.
Everyone hold hands.
And since it's
Quietly now.
that's maximized by having your explosive with another. This can pop every 2 seconds during the 2-second duration. However, the standard ICD of the talent will only let it pop a reaction every other tick, or if you let it to 5 seconds pass between ticks. While it it would have been nice if the burst didn't have ICD, having it does not make the burst useless. Aside from damage over time, Yoimiya's burst has another arguably more important utility, which is to serve as an attack buff to her teammates. Thanks to Yoimiya's A4 passive, casting her burst gives her teammates a 10% attack bonus, which increases as Yoimiya's normal attacks hit opponents for a maximum of 20% attack. When should you cast this? To start, definitely don't cast Yoimiya's burst in the middle of her skill duration. The animation eats up time that Yoimiya could spend firing off her arrows. By casting Yoimiya's burst before doing her team's setup, characters like Fischl and Beidou can snapshot the 10% attack on the first rotation and the full 20% on succeeding rotations. Since Xingqiu doesn't snapshot, he can at least take advantage of the attack buff dynamically. With these units on the team, Yoimiya's burst becomes very worthwhile to use as this is a team DPS increase.
What am I farming
Then, if
for
a marked
again?
opponent dies during the burst's duration,
And all
the
I know
mark
is
will
I
transfer
really
to
want
another
Elemental
opponent.
Mastery.
However, her burst can actually fail to mark an opponent if it misses its target. For example, if you activate Yoimiya's burst, and in the same instant, the opponent zooms away from you, leaving nothing to mark, her burst is essentially wasted. To prevent this from happening, ensure your enemy can stay below you throughout the
buffs are
casting
good.
animation. For talent leveling, always
guess I want
prioritize
another
Yoimiya's normal attack talent, as this is the most
Deep
efficient
Wood
way to
Memories.
increase her damage. The other talents can follow according to your resources.
But like, I feel like I should just be... What the fuck? I should just be focusing on...
Talents can follow according to your resources.
The higher they fly, the louder the explosion.
Now let's move on to her constellations. Though Yoimiya at C0 is already great, and constellations are very unnecessary unless you really just want Yoimiya cons. C1 prolongs her burst duration and gives her an attack buff when an enemy affected by her burst is defeated. Of course, how much this benefits you relies as well on how much you can get her burst up. For example, if you can only burst every other rotation, this ends up being a smaller DPS increase. Worse, if you're only fighting a boss, then this
I
won't get
created
procced at
another
all.
universe
So this is
and
a
founded
very good
paradise.
constellation. You can just get better substats and artifacts for a similar DPS increase. C2 compared to C1 is a better constellation with an easier condition to fulfill than C1, since all you need to do is crit, and you get that 25% pyro damage bonus. It's something, though if you're stacking up other damage bonuses already, it's not as big of an overall DPS increase. Past C2, I personally don't recommend trying to aim for further constellations, as it isn't worth limited primos. C3 is just a skill talent increase. Since her skill multiplier isn't really as big of an impact on her DPS, then this ends up being a lackluster damage increase. C4 reduces her skill cooldown by proccing her burst, and every proc reduces the skill cooldown by 1.2 seconds. But in almost all of Yoimiya's teams, they already account for 20-ish second rotations, so a shorter skill cooldown is unnecessary. It's a good co-op feature though. C5 is just a burst level and damage increase, a very minor upgrade, and C6 is a wild constellation as it makes her shoot extra fireworks when she does normal attacks. However, these projectiles apply pyro, are considered normal attack damage, and share ICD with her standard normal attacks. This may then disrupt her ideal N3 and N5 reactions, but the damage alone from these projectiles can compensate for the damage loss even if her basic normal attack reactions are disrupted. On monopyro teams, that is not a concern.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
Now that we know Yoimiya's kit, let's proceed on how to build her, starting with artifacts. Yoimiya's main stat preferences are attack percent or EM Sands, pyro damage goblet, and a crit circlet to achieve a 1:2 crit ratio. I mostly recommend farming attack percent Sands for general use, as EM Sands with good substats can be difficult to come by. However, an EM Sands with equal or better substat quality can be more beneficial when paired with Bennett in a Vaporize or Overbait team without Sucrose or in an Overload team. For substats, look for crit, attack percent, EM, and ER. If your goal is to use Yoimiya's burst every rotation, aim for around 130% ER, but if not, then you don't have to be concerned about ER substats, which can lead you to burst every second or third rotation, depending if you use Shimenawa or not. As for sets, Yoimiya has a lot of possible options. If you're still in early AR, you don't have to worry about set bonuses, so give Yoimiya your best pieces with the right main stats. But ideal set bonuses that will benefit her are 2-piece attack percent, Berserker, and Martial Artist. Now let's talk about Yoimiya's late game sets, and this is probably the most contentious aspect of building Yoimiya. Honestly, this can even warrant its own video, but to keep this guide compact enough, I'll just be concise with the pros and cons of choosing her sets. I'll add a theory crafting sheet in my description, made by my TC friend Migo, which you can peruse for more detailed info and calcs. Anyway, let's keep going. Starting off is the 4-piece Shimenawa set, which has unique pros and cons you ought to be aware of. This theoretically can give Yoimiya her highest personal damage potential, but this comes with the main caveat of energy problems. If you are not aiming for ER substats, it will be very difficult for Yoimiya to burst every rotation, and potentially even every other rotation. Though not using her burst results in shorter rotations, you miss out on the burst's damage and the attack buff it gives to Yoimiya's teammates who can take advantage of that attack buff, like Xingqiu, Beidou, or Fischl. So you get higher damage per screenshot with Yoimiya, but you lose out on the potentially higher team DPS. So to really make the most of the set while avoiding its main caveat, it's best used with teammates like Yunjin and Yelan who don't benefit from attack buffs. One more note is that due to Shimenawa's energy drain, it can interfere with certain weapon passives, which I'll return to when discussing those weapons. That being said, I would only really recommend using the full Shimenawa set on Yoimiya if you happen to farm pieces with very good substats. Since it shares a domain with the much desired emblem set, there's a chance you can incidentally farm a good Shim set while farming for emblem. However, don't force a Shimenawa build with mediocre substats, as other 2-piece set combos with better substats can surpass it. Next is a 4-piece Crimson Witch set. Yoimiya's vaporized damage potential on this set is at par with 4-piece Shimenawa without sacrificing burst uptime. When paired with Xingqiu,
but I was
who will
using
be
this
buffed by
team last
Yoimiya's
time,
burst,
weren't
the
I?
team DPS of the
Reroll.
4-piece Crimson Witch can overtake a 4-piece Shimenawa. However, in terms of resin, the Shim Emblem domain is certainly the more worthwhile domain to farm. Then there's the 4-piece Retracing Bowline, which was speculated
Candace's
to originally
artifacts
be
aren't
Yoimiya's
leveled.
signature set. Bowline has the condition
kinda
of a
shit
shield
right
in
now.
order to take advantage of the set effect, but since Yoimiya very much wants a shielder anyway, it's a desirable effect. The domain it's in is coupled with the archaic Petra set, and while it seems like it might be inefficient to farm, there's actually a silver lining. A full archaic set can be equipped on a Geo teammate like Li Zhongli or Yunjin, who can then get pyro-crystallized shields, which will in turn buff Yoimiya's pyro damage. While this
Shit.
requires more awareness on your part, it is something if you can pull it off. Another full set is the 4-piece Echoes of an
You know,
Offering. It's a great damage
4-piece
for a screenshot set if the passive happens
Geo
to proc on a
Arcade
vaporized
Petra
arrow.
might
However,
actually
the main
be good
drawback
for-
is that this set seems to have a bug for players
I mean,
with yellow
no,
or red
still-
pink,
no.
wherein it's not being
No,
procced as
no,
often
no.
as it should be.
No.
Ayat domains actually found
No.
that at 200 plus ping,
No.
the passive proc rate is below
No.
34%, which is well
No.
below its supposed 50%.
No.
So if that's your situation, definitely steer clear of this set. For a mono pyro team,
No.
you can put Yoimiya on a 4-piece Lava Walker set if you accidentally farmed a good set, but it's definitely not required.
Accidentally
Other
farmed
set
a good
combos will do
set.
just
No,
fine
that's
in such a comp.
impossible.
If you are having difficulty completing these sets with good quality artifacts, then you can go for 2-piece combos of attack percent and Crimson Witch, or a 2-piece attack percent plus your 3 best artifacts regardless of set. If these pieces come out with 4 to 5 more substats than your 4-piece set options, they can bring out equal or even higher DPS. Ultimately, all these full sets and combos are very close to each other in damage potential on Yoimiya, so perhaps the biggest consideration will be resin efficiency. You can also use a Genshin Optimizer to determine the best setup out of what you already have.
Here come the fireworks!
Moving on, let's look at Yoimiya's best
2-piece
bows.
Noblesse would be
Thankfully,
better,
she has
but I don't
options
have
across
any
all levels of
with
spending.
Noblesse.
The Slingshot is the best
At the moment.
3-star weapon for Yoimiya. Its high crit rate and its damage bonus are what make it so good. And while it has a low base attack, that can be compensated by attack buffing teammates. Just don't stray too far from enemies so that the passive will
Oh,
be
hey,
triggered.
cool.
Despite the Slingshot being a 3-star, it can even be a potentially better option versus 4-star bows given you run Yoimiya with Bennett, Yunjin, and attack buffs. It's an amazing value weapon that can beat these 2 craftable bows. The Hamayumi is what Yoimiya uses in her trailer, but it's anti-synergistic with her kit. If you have her on Shimenawa, then it reduces her energy and deactivates the weapon's passive. If you don't use Shimenawa, you'll likely still want to use her burst to buff your teammate's attack, which also deactivates the passive. Plus points for the aesthetic, but meta-wise it's hard to recommend. The Prototype Crescent is an okay free-to-play option, but it requires you to hit weak spots to maximize its potential, which means you ought to get good with quickly doing an aimed shot. But it's also a problem if you're using her against bosses with no weak points or they're hard to hit, and again, the slingshot can beat it. For gacha weapons, her best 4-star is the Rust, which at high refinements even competes with her 5-star options. It's perfect for her normal attack playstyle, and the damage bonus it gives is crazy on high refinements. At low refinements, its biggest competition among the free-to-play options is still the R5 Slingshot. The Slingshot yields better crit stats, provides high normal attack damage bonus too, and can be supplemented by a Bennett, Yunjin, and attack team buffing artifact. But the Rust pulls ahead at high refinements. The Viridescent Hunt isn't often recommended on Yoimiya, especially since Yoimiya mainly being a boss killer means that there won't be enemies to group with the bow's effect. Also, other bows can easily beat it in such scenarios. But there's some merit in using it in multi-target scenarios for convenient grouping, which might help some of
this thing
Yoimiya's
doesn't need to be
teammates
leveled
with
up. Her
AoE
HP should be
attacks. It can also be
close
used in an
enough to
Overload
30,000.
or Overfake team, so that Overload's AoE will be maximized. Now for 5 stars. Generally speaking, attack crit 5-star bows are all good options in Yoimiya, though as stated before, the R5 Rust is so good that in many scenarios it will match or beat R1 5-star bows. The way I put it is this: if you have a low refinement Rust and you manage to accidentally get one of the 5-star bows, then use it instead. And if you're in that situation and you still want a significant weapon upgrade for Yoimiya, then you can target incidentally collecting Rust refinements over time, or secure yourself a Thundering Pulse, which is simply her top weapon. The former might take time, but at least it's not as risky as the latter option if you don't have enough Primogens or are very unlucky with a weapon banner. However, keep in mind that if you take Shimenawa's 15 energy cost from a full burst, there's a chance Yoimiya's burst will get full again in the middle of her skill duration, thus deactivating Thundering Pulse's 3rd stack.
Okay, they're in here.
But friends are forever.
Now for the team comps. As a Haru DPS, Yoimiya's best teams consist of Vaporize, Overload, Overvape, and Mono Pyro teams. Since her release, there have been some new additions to her best teammates, giving her more flexible team options. Let's go through these templates one by one. A Vaporize team will be Yoimiya's go-to team comp. To start off, Xingqiu or Yelan will function as the Hydro Applicator, as they are the ones who can maintain a consistent Hydro aura for Yoimiya to vape. Then the next 2 slots can vary a lot depending on your preference and available choices. Bennett or Yunjin are excellent Yoimiya buffers. Bennett has the benefit of being your healer too, and you get to unlock the Pyro Resonance with Yoimiya, but Yunjin's niche normal attack buffing mechanic can result in higher buff damage and can unlock Geo Resonance if paired with Zhongli, making a healer unnecessary too. You can also pick a VV Anemo teammate who will shred Pyro Resistance. Sucrose and Kazuha in particular are very good picks if ever. In this case, Bennett and an Anemo teammate is a good combo. A Shielder is also highly recommended, and Zhongli, Thoma, and Diona are your best picks for this role. Zhongli simply has the best protection. Thoma has good synergy with Yoimiya's playstyle, and he has very little chance of stealing vapes since you might be far away enough, or Xingqiu and Yelan's Hydro application can still keep up anyway. Diona can shield and heal, and give an EM buff at C6, and can help Yoimiya get in a few melt reactions. A dilemma is going with a shielded or non-shielded team. Personally, in a Vaporized team especially, I would almost always recommend having a shielder. Without one, that makes playing with Yoimiya way riskier and will hurt your DPS significantly if you spend too much time having to dodge or be interrupted by enemies because her normal attack combos cannot be completed. Also, you can go for a double Hydro comp with Xingqiu and Yelan together in the team, then just put a shielder,
Softly, I'm
shredder,
doing a
or
stupid
buffer in the
minigame
last
right now.
slot. An Overload team's core consists of Yoimiya plus Fischl and Beidou. Both of these electro units are constantly applying electro to your enemies so that Yoimiya can also consistently proc overloads. This team's advantage is that it's good for AoE scenarios thanks to Beidou's Chain Lightning and the overload damage. It also doesn't mind as much if Yoimiya doesn't reach the end of her attack strength since she's not trying to hit big vaporized numbers. However, there are notable disadvantages. For one, this team is less effective on a boss compared to a Vaporizer or Overvape team. Then overloads can knock back light enemies a lot, which can cause Yoimiya to miss some shots, throw them too far apart from one another, or just send them out of your attack range. Beidou will also be very ineffective against single bosses, so in such cases you can just remove her and resort to an Overvape team. Overvape teams involve Yoimiya with a Hydro, which is either Xingqiu or Yelan again, then an Electro, which ought to be Fischl or Beidou, so that they will apply Hydro and Electro together. Yoimiya can use this to trigger Overload and Vaporize simultaneously. This team is a balance of single target damage and added AoE damage via overloads. Then for the last slot, it's flexible again according to preference. You can add Bennett, an Anemo unit, a Shielder, or double your Hydro or Electro unit again. Yoimiya can also work on a Monopyro team. Bennett will be the second teammate, and the other 2 slots can vary from Xiangling plus a VV Anemo unit to shred resistance, a double Anemo comp who will infuse their bursts with Pyro, Kazuha, and Venti being the best duo, Xiangling or another VV Anemo unit plus Zhongli as your shielder, or double Geo, particularly Yunjin and Zhongli. One great thing about this team is that Xiangling and the Anemo teammates can snapshot Yoimiya's attack buff. Another is that with 3 Pyro teammates, their energy requirements can be noticeably lower. But if Yoimiya is on the 4P Shimenawa set, it's still very difficult to make her burst every rotation, so no need to bother with ER in that case. And that's going to be all for this updated Yoimiya guide. Let me know in the comments if you're a Yoimiya wanter or haver and how you're gonna build her. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel for more Genshin Impact guides and content, and I will see you all soon. Take care.
The scaling is shit.
Never fear, Yoimiya's here! Evil be gone! Justice prevails!
Compare him to Beidou real quick. Yeah, Fiery Collapse deals shit damage. And it's probably because he's a Pyro and stuff. And he does do shields. At least that was probably the decisions they thought. But ultimately, Thoma just shit. I believe I have like a Pyro damage bonus? No. Yeah, sure, HP percent. Huh. Who is this for? Dang it, I'm forgetting my stuffs. The reasons why I have stuff locked. Maybe I should like write down a note somewhere. Yep, Elemental Mastery is still pretty rare. Oh, for now, Thoma can at least hold on to those artifacts. Ano yan, mami? Okay. Oh wow, and speedrun a Trial of the Sword.
Even if an antique is priceless, the happiness it brings lasts for only the moment that you obtain it. Give up. Submit. Don't waste my time. We shall prevail. Do your worst. Glory to the Shogun. Quiver.
I must leave no stone unturned, as a good knight should. Someone needs assistance.
Saan mo ang wire na tugaw niya? Love it.
Too easy. Strike. Give up. Don't waste my time. You're exposed.
Leave it all to me.
It's nothing. Give up. Submit. It's nothing. Flee! Hear my prayer! Storm the front!
Steady as stone, as a dutiful maid would.
Pin them down! Don't waste my time. Give up.
Leave it all to me.
You're exposed. It's nothing.
Oh, what are your crit stats? These are pretty good, actually. Where the hell is Mariavari? Will we ever get to explore it one day? Ah, that's bad. This isn't how you introduce a new mechanic, although there are only 3 stages per. What the actual fuck? This piece is literally a red herring. There's no way you can use this, right? Oh. How the fuck do I do this? Well, that's good, but now I'm dead. Eh. There you go.
We should look for a new investment. Mora doesn't grow on trees.
What the heck? It's not you two.
This is such a cool ship! Facing the sea breeze and gazing out at the soaring seagulls makes me want to sing out loud! Kazuha, how about I stay here and be the ship's resident bard? What are my prospects?
With
Kazuha's
your level
already
of
there.
artistic finesse, I'm sure nothing will go wrong. But I'm afraid the sailors aboard are not the most versed in the arts. They probably wouldn't understand the deeper meaning your poetry holds.
You can't say that for sure. Poetry is spur-of-the-moment creations.
No, they're
Anyone
not.
viewing the same sights and experiencing the same atmosphere would surely understand. There's a port in Mondstadt too, but I rarely get the chance to board any of the ships. Speaking of ships, everything's perfect about this one, except...
The ballista?
Kazuha, could you tell your captain that my height says nothing of my age? I'm way past drinking age. How often does one get to enjoy a seafood feast on a ship? It'll be a real shame if there isn't anything stronger to enhance the food. Pretty please?
There's not much I can do about that. It's not because Captain Beto's not on the ship right now, but because there's no room for negotiation on this matter. Even I have to sit in the no-drinking zone every time.
But I don't get drunk after just a few sips. Trust me, I can hold my liquor really well.
This event's pretty stupid since it's just the limit that increases. Technically, the best way to get all the rewards here is to just wait and then do it all at once. Oops. That was very smart. Up. do you know?
In a trade war, the perfect hunter leaves no trace.
I have an hour left to keep playing if I so desire, and that is what I shall do. Precisely what I shall do. Fecundity. Maybe Vado's just really selfish with her liquor. So any excuse to not share is something she's willing to make.
Steady as...
Don't waste my time. Give up. Submit!
The enclosed area is really bad for Ningguang. I can't take proper advantage of her.
Pin them down!
Leave it all to me.
It's nothing. Give up. Ha! Too easy.
I must leave no...
It's nothing. Give up. Your life is mine. We shall prevail. Yield.
Time to clean up. Steady as stone.
It's nothing.
Alright, I've decided I'm not playing as Ningguang here. Ironically, Ningguang doesn't do well underground. She doesn't strike me as an outdoor person at the very least. There's a place I want to check out, but I'll do it later. Wow, this sounds cool. Yeah, what the fuck was that? Who else are my Hydros?
This is destiny.
I'll go with this. Then I'll go double healing power here instead. Jesus, this song is just a mess. I think the attack boost from Sterling Sales is better in this team.
The fuse is lit! Ha!
Weird.
If your players are like most, they avoid dying at all costs. We get it. Losing a character sucks. What if we told you you could kill your players' characters and they can still have fun with it? There are plenty of ways to augment your game so that dying isn't a terrible or even permanent thing. Let's discuss a handful of ideas you can use to make dying rather than
You look great! You're up! Let the show begin! My Gotcha! That didn't count! A festive reprise! Don't be scared! Take this! Stay put! Let's dance! Fire hazard! Don't be scared!
All know making it too easy to revive a dead character takes the edge off of avoiding death. So to remove the consequences of dying, you need to add another mechanic that represents a fail state, even if it's a less permanent state. Taking a page right out of Paranoia, a game about a dystopian future where the genius is a crazy
Look at
AI
it sparkle.
computer, we can replace death with a limited number of clones. When someone dies in Paranoia, they're replaced with a clone, essentially losing a life.
I just remembered I need a shield.
In this way,
Who are my
it's not
shielders?
so much a game over as it is an indication that something went wrong. A game state is maintained in that players only have so many clones. Die 6 times and you're done. The main reason this is so compelling is that rather than just
For this
removing the
team.
consequences of death, you're giving your players a new tool to use for adventuring. They can now test out potentially deadly ideas without worrying about long-term loss. They can only do exceedingly risky things so many times, but that's still a great new idea for them to play with. And you don't need much to implement this in D&D. Some hand-waving as interference from the gods, a mad wizard's clone spell gone awry, or even just a dungeon-specific curse will work. There's a lot of ways to introduce the concept of clones, and you don't need to be overly precious about any of them. The important part is that you make the mechanic and its limits known to your players as soon as you introduce it. The rules should be direct and not cryptic at all, because if someone loses too many lives, that's it. They're dead. Now, as the Dungeon Master, you can always fudge the numbers a little, but you shouldn't have to if you're clear. So let's talk about utilization. Your players have clones, but how do you use them effectively? Maybe clones don't come back with their stuff, or maybe clones respawn in a different location each time. If a player walks into a room with a deadly trap and is killed without warning,
This
it's
is
a
fine.
fail because they have clones and will remember to look out for it in the future. The game now becomes a series of how do I get my stuff back while avoiding the trap that just killed me hijinks. This is something that normal adventurers couldn't explore before, and it opens up the game in all sorts of new ways. While clones are fun, they're definitely more on the wacky side of death avoidance mechanics. They kind of feel a lot like an item that's too good to use in a video game, so you end up beating the game without ever using it. The way you handle clones needs to be more reckless, so it can lead to things being on the sillier side no matter how much lore you drink over the scene. Let's take a look at another scenario. The party enters a dungeon and rests by an old bonfire at the entrance. They take careful and methodical steps through disarming traps and dealing
Let the
with
show
dangerous
begin.
foes. Eventually they find themselves in a room with an enemy they've never prepared for, and death comes for them. And as the veil lifts, they're not greeted by the afterlife, but instead by confusion, as they find themselves sitting at that same bonfire once again. Welcome to the Dark Souls of D&D quests. With this death mechanic, any party member's death simply resets the dungeon. Think of this more as a time loop. Until they complete the dungeon, the adventure will keep starting over. They can take all the knowledge they acquired while going through the dungeon to get a better outcome next time. What makes this mechanic appealing is that each death is still a penalty. Players have to start over for each death, but they can now explore the dungeon in ways they never could have before. What's that? A note at the bottom of a spike pit?
I just remembered that Yoimiya sucks.
Yeah, let's go on a big
I'll play with
adventure!
Klee instead, but I need a bow now.
Explore things on the edge of death. Ideally, the solution to the whole dungeon
I
also
like
has
both.
a razor-thin path to success as well. This doesn't just make the restarting feel different, but it makes the whole dungeon more of a puzzle. Mechanically, this also opens the door for expertise and proficiency that would not normally be there. The second time through any particular trap or obstacle, grant your players advantage on the rolls. If they go through it a third time, grant them advantage and let them re-roll 1s and 2s. After 5 or more attempts,
I'm doing it again.
Let's go out and
Because I
play.
need Pyro and Dendro, but like I don't know what team I can use most effectively to do that.
Give your players the option to just bail
Yes,
if they
there is
decide
this
they've had
team,
enough
I
detention
suppose.
for now. You can play out several sessions, different storylines, full arcs even. The moment someone dies, bam, right back at the bonfire. While this might break some people in your group, it's certainly bound to be an interesting moment in your campaign. Let's move on to our final example. When a sitcom needs to retcon something, lazy writers tell
Yeah, let's go on a
"It's
big
all just a
adventure.
dream." Turns out,
Stay close and you will live.
in all seriousness though, premonitions are a way to have players experience death, but not actually die for real. It still remains a penalty, but it allows your players to explore something that would almost certainly end in death anyway.
What'd they do this time?
The retcon and that your players get a do-over. It can be even more than that. What if what your players dreamed wasn't real? Perhaps they gained no actual insight from the dream they had, but instead only gained paranoia. By messing with your player's sense of what is real, open your story up to possibly have fatal endings. For those familiar with the book, just think about what happened at the climax of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. In stark
Spoilers.
contrast to the repeating dungeons, information from dreams and premonitions is not always reliable or easy to interpret. Players will constantly update their restart points. Things still move forward. The rules of redoing things are obfuscated from them, which makes death still scary, but not so scary that they won't try potentially risky things. In a way, this is a mechanic that can help players that are overly cautious step out of their shells. While mechanics-driven solutions to death in-game are great, you don't have to come up with alternative mechanics for
Ready for anything.
part of the story. Clear character deaths can be rewarding if they're sufficiently dramatic and purposeful. Maybe the player chooses to sacrifice themselves for the rest of the group. That's a cool death scenario that doesn't leave the players feeling bad. It's inspiring, and the player who died gets to feel like a badass. While there are lots of ways to handle this, the most important thing you can do to make it go smoothly is give the character's death weight. Without it, they'll feel let down, and the story
I'll ensure your safety.
you need to carry on. So how do you make a death cinematic? With description, of course. You want the final blow to a player to be dripping with style. Just slather the scene in descriptors and get into every little motion. This is just normal storytelling, but it has a small problem. The death save. 3 rounds of bad rolls before someone dies can be a long time in real life. To avoid this, anytime a player is down and not instantly dead, you'll want to ham up the descriptions. Like, really get into them. Mention how serious the injury is, or how fast they look like they're bleeding out. If you don't, then you'll miss the moment. It's hard to meaningfully retcon their death description into the scene. Alternatively,
This is how it must be.
and make the player character's death cinematic. Heroes don't just bleed out and
Come on, let's go. There's a fortune to be made.
Heroes die fighting off bandits just long enough for everyone in town to escape.
What'd they do
Heroes
this
are
time?
powerful not just because they were heroes.
Sure, I'm fine
They're
with this.
powerful because they often die for something greater than themselves. This method works best if your adventurers are stereotypical heroes, while it also works for evil parties or murder hobos. Meaning in their deaths is usually crime doesn't pay or wicked get what they deserve. In either case, these are much less satisfying and often more fun. You can also set up a scenario where a player can choose to sacrifice themselves for the group or the greater good. These work out well in cases where a real-life situation comes up, like someone moving away or having a baby, and they have to leave the gaming group. In this situation, it's a good idea to discuss the send-up with the player before the session. Otherwise, you run the chance that they won't take the bait at all. It's one of those no man left behind in moments where they
There's even more buried below.
decide to overcome their hardships together. When that one player steps up to the plate, they'll have to adjust on the fly to figure out who's actually dying. This can make these scenarios hard to pull off without telling your players you're trying to kill one of them
strong.
If you do get to the bottom of things and the player chooses death for a very good reason, you have to ensure that their death is not in vain. They're acting heroic. The story should reward them. Even if they start a new hero in future sessions, make sure they're rewarded in some way for their selfless act. It encourages good storytelling habits in your players. Once a player is on the chopping block, you also need to be ready.
Of course.
Stand with me. Delve into destiny. Go! Dumpy, dumpy, go!
Even if you have been playing a monster or NPC for a bit, whatever they do should impact the world moving forward. Otherwise, they're just on the sidelines, and that's no fun for anyone. While killing your players' characters can be an absolute blast, it's also something with a lot of pitfalls. Here's a quick rundown of what not to do. No one wants to die because they have terrible dice rolls. Try not to kill off players just because they got a series of bad rolls, unless it really makes
You know what? I
sense
don't
to do so.
think
Just like we don't encourage
the Dendro is actually all that necessary. So you know what? I'm playing as this team.
Similar to random chance and bad rolls, save or die spells and traps are lame. If you walk into an encounter and are asked to roll a die and then you're dead, it doesn't feel good. There's no weight there. It's just a mechanic where there was almost no control over the outcome. Saying, well, you should have rolled higher, is essentially all the save or die
Electro and Dendro just get in the
Players
way.
always want to feel like
There's
they have
lots of
agency
mushroom
in the
enemies
game
and I don't want them to
story.
get Electro.
Players should never come away saying there was nothing they could have done to change things. If a player is going to die, make sure they have an opportunity to succeed in the first place. At any given point, a player should see a possible path towards success, and they should feel like they're influencing the game around them. This collection of ideas for killing your
For
players
Rex Lapis, born of ice and frost.
failure into use.
Go as planned. Written in the stars. Boom boom. Access denied.
Remember, there are lots of ways that dying in-game can feel bad. But if you plan for failure, your players can have an amazing time with the story, even if they don't survive it. If you're interested in more Dungeon Master advice, check out our other videos. You can find more resources at masterthedungeon.com. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, or consider supporting us on Patreon. Happy DMing!
Hey everyone, it's Sebi, and I'm very happy to say the Serpent Knights are gone from Abyss. For now. This current Abyss, however, clearly shows its bias towards the current limited 5 stars Wanderer, and showing that its blessing and its comeback as a golden flourish.
Shadows of fate.
This Scarlet is
Ah, but these guys do like getting
Motion to
Electro.
compel. Fate is upon you. Born of ice and frost. Boom boom.
Don't forget to make sure your characters are
Ah, damn it.
Access denied. Delve into destiny. Motion to compel. All hail. Ha! Time for your arraignment. Ja, ja. Ja, ha. Ja, ja.
I advise having an Annabelle Cloud controller to make it convenient and disable the
Ha, ja.
Bringing a Hydrogen can also help a lot.
Let me scribe.
Other elements can still keep the shield.
Yeah. Ha! Decided by destiny.
Active and electro energy. Significant reaction before the thermal console is out of
Yeah. Next on the agenda. Go as planned. Boom boom. Yeah. Ja. Born of ice and frost. Motion to compel.
It'll be very easy. The first to spawn are a round of small slimes. These will keep targeting the monolith, but it's very easy to kill them anyway. spawn specters on either side of the monolith. The group with the Hydro and Pyro specters will aggro the monolith, so you can focus on them first, but try to position yourself so that the monolith isn't directly between you and the other group, so that their projectiles won't hit the monolith. Then you can just wait for the other group to approach you. Their dying explosions can also damage the monolith if they're too near. The final wave has large slimes. However, if you have an Anemo crowd controller, you can just use your abilities to disable them and even swirl the elements against the other slimes, which should kill them very quickly. The second half has primal constructs that spawn all around the monolith. The two at the left and right sides will fire lasers towards the monolith unless you disrupt or aggro them. I'll draw the attention of one first, then you can try leading it towards the other construct so you can group them. Try to kill as many as possible before they turn invisible, but if they do, use quicken reactions to disable or hit its repairing parts with Electro. Or you can just keep damaging them while they're invisible until they're dead, since you can see the numbers or status effects on them anyway.
Let's just go.
The next chamber starts with one Cryo and one Pyro Abyss Mage. With an Anemo unit, you can swirl their shields together to help deplete them. When attacking, approach them from one side to push them into each other. Use counter elements and reactions to get rid of their shields. Next, a Pyrolector and two Hydro Mages will spawn. You can again approach them from one side to push them closer to each other so that your AoE abilities can reach them all. Again, elemental reactions will deplete their shields and they'll be easy to kill once vulnerable. The Lector's armor and pyrostructure that it drops can most efficiently be dealt with by Hydro and Electro, but to a lesser degree. Just be conscious of dodging the Pyrolector's attacks. Use the indicators
I
or
want to see if
animation
they have
patterns
something
to help with dodging.
in their mind. We have Nahida prepared anywhere.
The second half is just one group of 4 ruined monsters. The potentially hardest part will be survival.
There are still so many places for us to explore.
Thrash you, the snake will
I'll go with this for now.
damage, etc. So if you have a
Everyone hold hands!
that will help ensure your survival. But defeating them is pretty straightforward.
Okay. Oh boy.
For the third chamber's first half, you start with a group of Fatui. If you brought a crowd controller, you can easily disable and kill everyone using AoE damage. However, I would recommend to first target the Cryo Gunner since its cryo application can cause you to be frozen or melted. Then dispose of the Mirror Maiden if she's still alive. After that is a group of Shroom enemies. You similarly want to disable them with crowd control before they fly too far. If you're able to keep them all together and attack them AoE, then good. Otherwise, targeting the Hydro and Cryo ones will help prevent you from getting frozen. In the next half, we're up against 4 Skydrakes. This chamber can get painful because of the continuous barrage of projectiles while they're in flight. If you have an archer, you can disable them by hitting the weak points. This is a somewhat slow tactic and also presents some risks if you get hit while aiming. It also relies on good aim, and you'll see I miss a lot of my shots. Anyway, I'm just demonstrating how it looks here. If you don't have an archer, then you can do a combination of exploiting iframes with your bursts, dodging their rockets, using thick shields, and healing a lot to stay alive. If you're using a freeze team, then that will also help with disabling them. we have floor 12. Bringing a Quicken team in the first half is effective against the Primal Constructs and Terror Shrew. However, it's not necessary, and just generally having enough DPS can get you through the bosses in this half, so adapt your team accordingly. Then the second half really wants you to bring a Geo unit to counter the Wolf Lord and a strong healer for the Rift Hound Corrosion. Despite the Wolf Lord being a single target scenario, you will eventually want AoE damage for the last chamber. You can either use a team that can be effective in both a single target and AoE scenario, or use different teams on multiple runs if needed. If you have a well-built triple or full Geo team with Goro in it, then that's a good option here. However, not everyone may have such a niche team built, so I had to get a little creative due to my 4-star limitations. My options were Ningguang, Noelle, or Goro for 4 stars. I opted for Noelle as a Geo unit, on-field driver, tank, and healer. Then my 3 flex slots are a Hyperbloom combo of Xingqiu, Dendro Traveler, and Kuki. It might seem a bit strange, but you can see how it turns out. Entering the first chamber, we're up against the PMA. If it's moving around a lot, don't use your abilities too soon. The best time is to wait until it does its plunging attack for it to stay in place. That's when you can unleash most of your team abilities to do the most damage. Its own attacks have animations and indicators, so dodge and iframe them as much as possible. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. You've been a naughty boy.
Just stay clear. Just like you rehearsed.
When it enters into its invulnerable state, it summons these 4 smaller ruin monsters. Look for the one with the shield-like animation. That's the one with the HP bar you need to kill. I've covered this boss in previous Abyss videos, so you might be familiar with the ruin types and what they do. The most annoying one is a crab-like one because of its tankiness. But if you see the one that looks like 3 Doritos, make its back
Ball would
facing
love the
forward
Eternal
like a
Oasis.
boss. So that when it dashes backwards, it's conveniently positioned beside it. Once you kill the target, the PMA boss returns to its vulnerable state. It's disabled and has reduced resistance for a while,
Oh
so
my
that's
gosh.
it. Feel free
Anyway,
to deal the most damage and with enough damage.
I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna end this here. I gotta do the dishes.